Hey up everyone, welcome back to the History of Football channel. Today on the channel I'll be talking about another defunct football competition that no longer exists. The other day I did the Coppa del Alpi. If you haven't watched that video, go and check it out. Today's video that I'm going to be featuring is about a competition which in the long run was very important in the development of competitive football competitions across Europe, and that is the Latin Cup. And that is one of the predecessor competitions to what we call now the Champions League. So I'll be talking about the history and the story of the Latin Cup, or as it was also known as the Coppa Latina, so stay tuned for the rest of the video. The Latin Cup was founded in 1949 by the football federations of France, Italy, Portugal and Spain. These four football federations came together and requested FIFA officially launch the competition. Even though FIFA launched the competition, it was the organisers from the different football federations which devised the competition. The Latin Cup was competed between the champions of each of these four nations. The first Latin Cup in 1949 was played between Stade de Reims of France, Torino of Italy, Sporting Lisbon of Portugal and Barcelona of Spain. There was only 4 matches played in the inaugural Latin Cup, 2 semi-finals, a third place playoff match and a final, where Barcelona won the initial Latin Cup by 2-1, defeating Sporting Lisbon in the final at the Santiago Bernabeu. The following year, the Latin Cup was interrupted by the 1950 FIFA World Cup in Brazil, so most of the players of the league champions of the respective nations were called up to their national sides. Therefore, in 1950, Lazio, who came 4th in Serie A, were invited to compete in the Latin Cup. Over the next 3 years, there would be 3 different winners. Milan would win the trophy in 1951, Barcelona in 1952, and Stade de Reims would be the only French team to win the competition, defeating AC Milan 3-0 in the final. Due to the Latin Cup being a pre-season tournament and usually being played in June or July, the 1954 edition of the Latin Cup was cancelled because it conflicted with the 1954 FIFA World Cup in Switzerland. The tournament commenced again in 1955, where Real Madrid would beat Stade de Reims 2-0 in the final. In 1956, the tournament was won for a second time by AC Milan, and in 1957, the Latin Cup would be contested for the final time. The final itself was contested between Real Madrid and Benfica. The match was played at the Santiago Bernabeu. Real Madrid had won the 1957 European Cup less than 1 month before the 1957 Latin Cup final. They would win the trophy by 1-0, and they would be one of only 3 teams to have won the Latin Cup on 2 different occasions, the others being FC Barcelona and AC Milan. As what had happened in 1954, the 1958 Latin Cup was cancelled due to the conflicting schedule with the 1958 FIFA World Cup in Sweden. It was also due to the rising popularity of the European Cup that the tournament was never hosted again. After the last tournament, the 4 nations who participated in the last 4 editions of the Latin Cup were allocated points based on their club performances. Spain, which had won the 1955 and 1957 editions, were awarded the Latin Cup trophy in perpetuity for topping the table over the other 3 competing nations. In recent years, FIFA and UEFA have validated the official status of the Latin Cup, which explains that some clubs, particularly Real Madrid, have added it to their list of achievements and on their honour roll. So that concludes my video on the Latin Cup, a competition which existed between 1949 to 1957, a very important competition in the context of everything. Prior to the introduction of the European Cup, the Latin Cup was considered to be the most important cup for clubs in Europe, and it had overtaken the Mitropa Cup as being the most prestigious cup competition in Europe. Especially after World War II, the Mitropa Cup declined. I've done a video on that one as well, but a lot of people consider the Latin Cup to be the forerunner of the European Cup. So a very important competition in the context of everything. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, let me know in the comment section below. Let me know your thoughts on the Latin Cup, and just let me know your thoughts on the video in general. So thanks to everyone that's tuned in. I've got more content coming out soon, and I'll catch us all later in that one. Alright, ta-ra for now.